Good morning, my friends. It's Trigger, or Mellow Fellow, or Shallow Puppet, or Reverend Michael, or whatever in the world you want to call me today. And I want to discuss something a little bit different in regards to the MGTOW communities. It's the dating culture of the US versus Europe. See, I lived in Germany for 25 years, and I resided in cities like Heidelberg and Baumholder and Hanau and Wiesbaden. And I'm very grateful to have had such opportunities. So a portion of that time I was single, and I enjoyed the very unique dating experiences that are found in the EU. My first wife was German, my second wife was American. And the experiences in dating and relationships and marriage, they're like night and day. Today I finished 9 years of separation. And during those 9 years, I was a devoted MGTOW participant and sort of a content creator of sorts. I guess I need to be honest and say I'm more like a hypocritical MGTOW participant because I did not rush to divorce for two reasons. One, because of my children, and second, because of fear of the legal system. Does that sound familiar? Now that the door to my past is closed, I'm kind of toying with the idea of dating once more. And I have to admit that this is a prospect that I find very uncomfortable. See, women in the United States, they bash men for viral moments and complain that they are unwanted. See, I thought they chose the bear in this toxic dating environment, in our toxic dating culture. I'm accustomed to the European dating scene, but, I'm stuck here, torn between the two different cultures. And I want to talk about those cultures a bit, because there are major, significant differences between dating in the United States and dating in Europe. And these differences, they shape how each relationship starts, develops, and either grows or falls apart. If we look at dating through a structural lens, we see the cultural attitudes toward dating in the United States. Well, it's a staged-based system. And what I mean by that is you start talking, then dating, and later you become exclusive with the possibility of marriage. And during this time, it is all contingent upon how much the man provides, how much he makes her feel wanted, how he makes her feel exactly. And during this time, we find that the man must remain exclusive, while the partner, supported by her friends, always continues to look for a better provider, a more handsome suitor. In the U.S., early on in the relationship, there is an expectation of quick clarity, as women often ask early on, where is this relationship going on in this attempt to pressure commitment? Yet, once again, while looking for better providers. And during this time, they rarely contribute to the relationship financially, emotionally, mentally. Dating apps such as you've got Plenty of Fish, Bumble, Hinge, Tinder, they create this mindset of FOMO because the apps, they create expectations of meaningless financial or sexual reward for making quick connections. See, the ladies get the free dinner and the good time, and the men are left with the expectation of possibly, maybe, hopefully getting something, possibly sexual, or maybe sometime in the near or distant future. Basically, the U.S. are given a guarantee of dinner with no expense, and men are often offered shattered hopes of sexual conquest. The U.S. dating culture is how you dress, about what you bring, and about what you buy, what you consume. There are obligations for the man to swoo the lady, giving her shit to make her feel special, while providing his or proving his worth based upon is financial abilities with little to no regard for emotional or physical connections. For men, it's a transaction with no guarantees. In the end, the goal, historically, with our female counterparts, is marriage. All of their lives, young ladies dream of the day that they'll walk down the aisles. They think about the party, the ceremony, the dress, the bridesmaids, how they will feel. It's been romanticized. They do not seek a compatible companion, just a man with a wallet who can buy or pay for a ceremony which fulfills their dreams today, setting themselves up for disappointment in the future. And these romantic images that have trapped women were created by advertising companies and magazines, TV shows, and stories, the stories of romance, those romance novels. And now, recently, we have feminism that has created this overbearing sense of female empowerment, sitting here filling their minds with these new sexual ideologies and of sexual freedom and self-exploitation. I mean, and I say this because Lady J and Emily and Roma, they've all posted recently videos over the past few weeks that will support this observation of mine. Check them out. I mean, since 2020, statistics have shown a decrease in marriage, and it's attributed to OnlyFans, female sexual independence, and the lack of equality. This change in mindset is also attributed to growing online hostility fueled by groups like ours, MGTOW, like the Red Pill movement, MGTOW. And hostility is generated by online bashing, viral clips, and the bare wall narratives. See, what I'm accustomed to is the European scene, which tends to be less formalized. It's easy. There are no expectations and very little, if no, gold digging, because they have this thing called equality. They promote equality. The Europeans often progress from friendships to more casual sexual relationships. They tend to prefer relationships without explicit labels, with more emphasis on shared experiences such as travel, dinner, cultural outings. And there's this separation of expectations. And what I mean by that is most dates are Dutch. This means to the American ladies, each partner pays their own expenses during the date. And this reduces implied sexual expectations, meaning sex is not obligatory, rather it's based upon connection or attraction. Countries such as France, Italy, and Spain, where romance is more naturally integrated into daily life, they have an even greater casual dating expectation. I mean, there are no flowers. There might be flowers. But for the most part, women contribute equally. You've got countries like the Nordics and Germany, where I resided most of my time, which enjoy a slower, more pragmatic approach to dating. More communication is present. More time is spent walking in parks, attending events, spending time in cafes over coffee. It's about building connections, not proving worth through one's purchasing power. Time is the most valuable thing these individuals have to share. Time is the most important thing that I have to share. So throughout Europe, it's more common to see cohabitation, long-term partnerships without legal marriage. It's a practice widely accepted and promoted. It's about time, connection, communication, rather than wallet, piece of paper. And there are also differences in the expectations and gender roles within these relationships as well. Once again, both partners contribute equally to the cost of living and to the relationship, to the date, because there's this pride in what each of the partners brings to the relationship. But in the United States, dating is polarized by cultural wars. That is why we see feminism, MGTOW, red pill, traditionalism, hookup culture groups competing all for cultural dominance. In the US, there is a stronger expectation that men lead in the dating scene by asking women out and paying for the date and pursuing sex within the relationship. Attempts to change this dynamic by emphasizing equality or normal gender roles are polarizing our dating culture and creating hostility. Debates such as provider versus equality are a major source of tension. Equality is present when it's beneficial and it's absent when pursuing certain cultural dynamic expectations. One gender gets the benefit of equality while the other doesn't. Europe is more, what's the good word for it? Egalitarian, meaning that the people are considered equal and deserve equal rights and opportunities. And this is why splitting the bill is normal. Both genders initiate this concept, and as mentioned before, this also reduces certain expectations in uncomfortable situations. There is less emphasis on strict gender roles, as relationships often start from shared social circles rather than, US-based courtship rituals. Southern Europe, though, and if we go down to Bavaria and parts of Italy, they still promote more traditional norms. The males pursue the ladies, and the female partners put a lot of emphasis into their beauty, their appearance. But they don't make the man pay for it. They don't ask for the man to pay for the nails. However, this cultural dynamic is very regional, once again, and it's becoming less and less common. Attitudes towards sex and intimacy also vary greatly between the US and Europe. The United States is deeply shaped by puritanical roots and Christian values. Even in secular spaces, casual sex is common, but it's also judged. And this is leading to double standards, as women are shamed and men are praised for their body counts. So the body count question looms heavily within the MGTOW and red pill discussions. Personally, I don't care. There are more important factors to consider. We in the MGTOW and red pill communities have lost sight of this. We're too hyper-focused upon body count. See, and the body count narratives, well, they're adding to the hostility. Women found themselves very empowered through their sexual freedom, enjoying the fruits of the money that they're able to generate by OnlyFans, only to find themselves criticized for engaging in such behaviors. But we helped establish that. Women see their body counts as equality, while men see it as overusage, to be polite. But we need to focus upon respect, equality, and halting these viral moments that are created in order to own each other. Now I digress. In Europe, there's a more relaxed and open attitude toward sexuality. There's far less shame about casual intimacy, as sex is seemed part of life. It's not a moral test. And this openness, it sometimes means that relationships develop more fluidly, but it also means that commitment is less urgent. Relationship longevity in marriage it also differs, as the United States sees, a much, much higher divorce rate than the European states. And this has contributed to serial dating model. U.S. couples tend to marry after a few short-term trials. Financial and legal structures make marriage a very high-risk institution, which are key talking points for the MGTOW red pill communities. There are also a very strong ideal here, cultural ideal in the United States about the nuclear family. While in Europe, the divorce rate is far lower in most regions. Now, this is partly due to fewer people getting legally married, and there's a stronger support for cohabitation, single parents, and blended families. And often, marriage occurs later on in life after careers and identity have been established. This affects relationship building. In the United States, for instance, relationships are what feels transactional and fragile. Men and women often approach each other with suspicion. For example, what does this person want from me? This is one of the reasons why movements like ours exist. But in Europe, relationships are often less pressured, but they're also less defined. The absence of labels can give freedom, but they also produce uncertainty. Basically, the US is more about commitment and risk, while Europe is more about freedom and self-identity. Men like myself, well, we've been burned by cultural-based betrayal. US dating culture, well, it feels harsh because of the legal risk and the cultural double standards. Well, dating in Europe feels less hostile, but it also feels ambiguous. Without clear expectations, men and women can basically drift apart as easily as they can come together. And so when I'm thinking about all these things, I ask myself, which is better, dating in the United States or dating in Europe? Dating in Europe. The truth is they both have their strengths, they both have their weaknesses. But in the US, you know the rules. But the stakes are high. In Europe, the rules are looser, but sometimes so is the commitment. As men, whether we are MGTOW or not, the lesson is that the connection cannot be reduced to geography. It's about character rather than culture, and it begins with knowing your own worth before you share your life with someone else. And that's something that was so hard for me to learn, and I want to repeat that. It begins with knowing your own worth before you share life with someone else. See, the US is very structured. Dating in the US is very structured. Gender roles are heavily debated. Men are expected to initiate, pay, provide, even though society preaches equality. Women feel pressure not to seem too easy, but not to seem too cold, and it creates a double standard, creates friction. Relationships thus feel fragile, transactional, and rushed. In the end, the US has one of the highest divorce rates in the world. Dating in Europe is less transactional, and couples slide from friendship into romance without labels. Gender roles are looser, as women ask men out as frequently as men ask women out. Splitting the bill is normal, and marriage isn't the automatic goal. Sex is approached with less shame, and relationships feel freer and less pressured. The pros and cons are simple. In the US, clear expectations, direct progression, high legal risk, high divorce rates, consumerist mindset, and never-ending gender wars. Europe is more relaxed, egalitarian, less stigma, and delayed commitments. And the MGTOW movement grew strong in the United States because of the characteristics I've just mentioned. MGTOW does exist in Europe, but it's less about law and more about personal freedom, men choosing independence over traditional paths. MGTOW communities are present in places like the UK, Germany, and Scandinavia, but focus more upon freedom and lifestyle than the legal risk. Australia and Canada, yes, they have a very strong MGTOW circle, but it's influenced by the US social groups. But in Australia and Canada, it's focused mainly upon personal lifestyle choices. Asia also has parallel movements. We've got to mention them, right? Though they are not labeled MGTOW, they apply to both genders. In Japan, for instance, we have the herbivore men, and these are men who opt out of marriage and dating. South Korea has the 4B movement, which is found amongst women who are rejecting marriage, childbirth, dating, and sex. Globally, The global reality is that MGTOW is most vocal in the United States. But the idea of men rejecting traditional roles is global. Every culture where men feel overburdened or undervalued has produced some version of the movement. But once again, it's loudest in the United States because of the culture, polarization, and legal structures that are present here. So, anyway, I wanted to share that with you. So, thank you for listening to my new voice. And this is one without bitterness, and one, it's an exploration of my next stage in life. Friends, may today you walk in peace and happiness. Until we talk again, cheers. Shameless plug. Drop your brother from another mother some SHIB in the address below.